Alright guys, so that was a little example of what's going on. We got a leak from the impeller housing right here, dripping onto the main pulley, and then that is slinging water onto this power steering belt right here, causing it to slip, which is causing excess wear on the belt and causing the power steering pump not to spin fully, which is making it quite difficult to steer. So this is going to be 4 8mm bolts, and then there's this bracket right in front, right here, that is held on by 2 14mm bolts in the back, and that's just to prevent this whole housing from turning with the crank, keep it from rotating and torquing up. So we're going to do that. We're going to pull this bracket off, pull this impeller housing off, and to do so we got to remove this inlet and outlet hose right here, and we're going to have to plug those off. We are working on this in the lake, so if we just took those off right now, and these hoses are below the water line, water is just going to rush into this this bilge right here. In here. What is it? Alright, so we got the impeller housing off here. The impeller looks like it's in decent shape. It's the right size. You can definitely see evidence of the belt being completely melted right here. It just comes right off. It's very gooey. And it was completely missing the O-ring. There is absolutely no evidence of an O-ring on that shaft. So we're going to pull this out and then use the provided silicone grease, grease the insides of it, and put the new one in. Alright, we're going to be using this Johnson pump kit, part number 1027B-1. That is the same version, 1027-B. See if we can get this out. Johnson 1027B. I don't know if you can see that, but Johnson 1027B. So it comes with a whole bunch of provided gaskets. Like this one's for a 3-bolt configuration with a alignment pin section, and then it comes with an O-ring, a 4-bolt configuration, the actual impeller itself, brand new, and then has this papery 6-bolt configuration packaged not very well. This is about $65 at West Marine, and then another O-ring. So this should fit lots and lots of engines. And then it also comes with this impeller lubricant, which is really just a silicone grease, kind of like you would use in caliper slide pins or something like that. So all we're going to do is clean this out. Not bad. We're going to take this lubricant and go all around here. Oops. Rub it in. A little bit more. Just spin it around a little bit. It's very sticky. Doesn't really move a whole lot. Not very viscous. And this should, there is a little notch on it. I don't know if you can see that. There's like a little notch on it in between here. But it doesn't correlate with anything in here, so we'll kind of just try to wiggle our way into this. I think twisting it's going to be our best bet. There, just like that. So I don't believe it goes a certain way. I feel like these will kind of align themselves as necessary once you put it all back together. I'm going to see if I can try to get this. See how nasty that is? All this belt stuff. It's all power steering belt. We'll replace that here in a second. But make sure that's good in there. Bolts are not perfect. It looks like these two are closer together, these two are close together, and these are further apart. Like these are higher that way than that way. So let's see if we can recognize that on this. Well, I guess technically we could just put it on and spin it around until something matches. Yeah, right there. Okay. Alright, so the bracket is on, hose clamps are on, all 4 bolts of the water pump are torqued. Now I'll do a cold start and see if it's leaking water still. If it is, I would assume that the impeller housing is probably warped, or worst case scenario, we've got a bad pulley. Alright guys, a few days has gone by since the last clip. Actually replacing this impeller and O-ring made the problem twice as worse. That, after doing some research, is because of these sleeves here. These sleeves, once they get old and worn out, they spin, they wobble, they're super loose. They're not supposed to be loose at all. They're just pressed in metal sleeves into the housing. The suggested replacement part is this brass impeller housing right here with no sleeves, and that is gonna completely delete these sleeves right here, and that should solve our leak. I can assume, since the problem got about twice as worse after I was messing with this, this could possibly be where it's leaking from, because as I put the hoses on and off, it could spin, it could wobble, and make the leak worse than it was before. I also got this stop lug. This is what it's called, a stop lug, and that goes on the tip of this bracket here. Now this bracket is meant to prevent this housing from rocking back and forth with torque applied, and apparently the stop lug wears out. Mine didn't have one on it when I bought it. I had no clue, but through some research, you definitely need this part. So we're going to swap everything over. This Amazon kit came with a new impeller and an O-ring. So we're going to put that in there, button it all back together, and we'll see if it's still leaking. Alright guys, a few days has gone by, and this new impeller housing did not solve any problems. After doing some further research, it's apparently an oil, or just a seal. It's kind of like an oil seal, but for water, in between the impeller itself and this bearing that's in here. There's a seal in between there. Once that goes bad, if you don't catch it soon enough, it's going to rust out that ball bearing in the bottom. So I just went ahead and bought a whole new pulley assembly. So it's got a new pulley, double V-belt, new bearing, new seal, new impeller, and a brand new housing. I'm gonna return that, no problems there. To get it out, there's some Allen bolts. There's 3 of them, and they are 5/16 Allens. They come out pretty good. You're gonna have to hold the pulley by hand, which they're not torqued down very strong, so that should work out. And then to take it off though, you have to remove these 2 belts. You have to remove your alternator belt and your power steering belt. That's pretty easy. It's just these 1/2-inch bolts right here. Loosen them up, it swings down. And then this 1/2-inch bolt right here, loosen it up and it swings down. Put slack on the belts and you can just take them right off. So we're gonna try to clean this up a little bit, install this new pulley, and I'll be back with you. Well, there you have it. Brand new belts on her, got a new pulley, and she's not leaking. pretty stable at about, I call it 160. Oil pressure's good. She's running really, really healthy. No water whatsoever. So that fixed it.